Thank you for staying with us. This morning, we want to talk about safeguarding digital rights in Nigeria and promoting safe and inclusive online spaces. Take a scenario where a young entrepreneur in Kano wakes up to find that her Instagram business account has been hacked. She lost customer data, lost her income stream, and had confidence in doing business online. Stories like this, they are replete all too soon, all too frequently in the various parts of the country. So as we embrace the digital future, our rights, safety, and privacy online has become as important as the air we breathe. Today we ask you, how safe are we in Nigeria's fast-evolving tech landscape? How safe do you feel? This morning we have the Executive Director of the Center for Information Technology and Development, SIAD, with us in our Kano studio, Malam Yunusa Zakari-Yo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, sir.
Thank you.
You know, sometimes when we talk about all this, let me use that term that would be used in Kano, all this Dogo Toronchi, people just don't seem to understand many of the issues that are being raised. So for many people, digital rights is just like that, Dogo Toronchi. If you can help us understand what it means in simple terms, how would you explain it in simple terms to someone who only uses a phone to chat, to browse, and maybe to just do simple business?
Well, I think that the simplest way to explain what digital rights means is that consider yourself coming out to go to work in the morning, to ride the public transport, and then as you leave your house, you are confronted by somebody who says you have to remove your clothes, your underneath, and everything before you could ride that vehicle. And because you just have to go, and so you remove everything on you and got onto the vehicle, and then you expose everything of yours to the public ridicule. You know, so protection of digital rights is really about keeping our privacy as it should be, and not just exposing ourselves unnecessarily and unduly to others. That I think for me is the closest way to explain what digital rights connotes for the humanity.
Perhaps one of the issues there would be maybe how informed are many Nigerians on the issue of on the digital rights, as you have spoken about. The most that many people do is just tap their phones to do a thing or two. How much education do you think anyone needs to be able, before they can know that, okay, these are the things that I should be able to do with my digital rights, these are the ways that I can protect my digital rights?
Well, I think the big challenge we face is that often we stumble onto the digital space without education about digital space. You know, ideally, we should learn what it is, what we can use it for, what are the perils, what are the challenges, and so forth. But in real life, people simply buy handsets, buy computer, buy all sorts of devices, and begin to experiment, and you learn to use it on the basis of the device that you have. I think that we have come to the point at which we should insist that our children who are born in this era should be given proper education on how they can handle this interaction in the digital space. You know, many years ago, government says that computer knowledge and then computer literacy are necessary and compulsory in our educational curriculum, which is very good. But it's not just that is needed. It's something that we must have, because as you can see that the examinations are migrating online. Interaction educationally is migrating online. So those skills are important for educational development, for self-actualization, and so forth. So what is needed, therefore, is to find the space within that curriculum to inculcate and to expose our young people to basic digital safety issues, not on an experimental basis, but on the universal basis across our educational sector. What we've been doing so far in name of computer education is simply doing the Manchester United versus Madrid football match. So you have a teacher open us one screen in the classroom and 100 students sitting and watching. And rather than doing, you don't learn literacy on the basis of watching. You learn literacy on the basis of doing. And I think that it's that space that we should capture and provide an opportunity to expose students on how they can protect themselves digitally. There's so many dangers across there. Every day we use phones, we use our digital devices, we extract what we call the metadata about ourselves, about our families, about our colleagues, friends, about everything that we do. And that is why today, when you Google knows more about ourselves than we do actually know about ourselves, And so with that sort of data, people are able to reconstruct our whole lives trajectory, decide on what we eat, extrapolate on whom we meet, where we meet, when we meet, and so forth. And so generally we are publicly naked on the digital space for people. But I think that it's really, if we are serious as a society, that this is the right time to ensure that everybody, not just children, but adults also, are provided opportunity to understand the dangers that are inherent in unsafe digital interactions and how they can protect themselves and remain safe online as they engage with the digital space.
I think one way to test what you are saying right now is to put the Nigerian to work right this moment. So wherever you are, do me a favor. Google your name to find out whether what Mr. Yao is saying is of essence. So just Google your name, your full name, maybe what some people will call your government name. Just check it out online, see how much the internet knows about you. But there's something that your organization, SIAD, has been doing, the E-Rights Project. How does the E-Rights Project address some of the issues of concern that you have raised?
Well, the E-Rights Project works on the different labels. The first label is actually to create awareness about it. You started with a question about whether people indeed understand or not aware about digital rights. So we do engage the public, the citizens, so that they understand what these digital rights are, what they can do, and generally raise public awareness about them, because unless you create a public awareness, people will not even know what these rights are about. When you raise awareness, the next step is actually to get people to understand. So we train, build capacity, so that people would understand what exactly is digital rights, what is its place in the legal system. How can I, as a citizen, ensure that my digital rights are respected and so forth. Now, that's about capacity building. And when you do capacity building, you have to look at different stakeholders, Okay, so if your rights is infringed or abused, then you need to get to the legal judiciary to make a decision on that. And so we also needed to train judges on how they can listen to cases about digital rights abuse, how they can adjudicate those cases, but we also needed to educate lawyers about how they can prosecute digital rights abuses and so forth. So you build capacity of citizens, but you also build relevant agencies, people from those agencies that are responsible for protecting and ensuring that our rights being respected. Now that's just second level. And the third level is actually about providing opportunity for people to report digital rights abuses. Just like we do offline abuses, we report cases to National Human Rights Commission. We create platforms for citizens who see the rights of other people or even their own rights being abused to report on those platforms so that we can on our own escalate them, either through engaging with the parties involved, either through reporting to other parties such as the National Human Rights Commission or to police and so forth, or in fact providing, which is the first level, providing pro bono legal services for people who are victims of digital rights abuse. So when we hear that, we have trained lawyers who can be able to handle those cases free of charge, not billing the victim, because when you bill him, then you make access to justice much more difficult for people who are especially poor. So we have a huge pool of pro bono legal service providers who are ready and willing to provide the services to prosecute cases of digital rights abuse. So generally these are...
just so we can touch on a few other things before you leave our studios. There are a few things that your office is doing. I want you to shed some more light on it. There's a digital economy fund to support northern women. Could you talk to us a little bit about how SIAD is doing that and what kind of support are you providing for these women?
Well, we recognize that the digital space has to be inclusive. And from our work, we find that it has actually for a long time marginalized women in particular. And so we got into that discussion about what can we do for women so that they can benefit from the opportunities that are available in the digital space. And so what we've been doing is, first of all, ensure that many women have digital skills. Now that's basic, because without the digital skills, you cannot be able to productively engage with that space, And so that's the first thing we do. The second thing we do for women is then expose them to entrepreneurial skills that are suited to the domain of the digital space, whether they are going to become software developers, whether they will be website designers, whether they will be coders, but also whether they wanted to leverage their own non-technology businesses, transforming them by leveraging technology, that's digital technology. And so we provide them that onboarding. First of all, providing them those skills. Second, providing them the onboarding of how they can leverage technology to transform and build this on the businesses. And then we provide them mentoring, which allows them to navigate the difficult spaces of business environment in Nigeria.
Created a nexus between online abuse and suicide in Nigeria. Could you help us understand what those lines are? How does this correlate and what's being done about it? What kind of advocacy from your office are we seeing to stop this menace?
Well, The link about the suicide and digital space is that in our society, attention is given to issues that are so visible, you know. Gender violence online is essentially non-visible, you know. So it takes place on the private space, and when victims, you know, speaks out, they become orchestrated, you know, they harass, you know, they are made a double victim, you know, and so because of that, many people fear to report that they have been abused and so forth, and that creates trauma for them, you know, and it's that trauma that drives people into committing suicide and so forth. So for us, the advocacy that we are doing is double-edged. First of all, to let people understand that the victim must speak out, no matter what the stance it is. You know. Second, that society must accord special respect and recognition to victims of abuses and so forth. So that's the sort of advocacy that we are doing. But we also create online safe spaces where people who are especially victims can be able to report anonymously without exposing themselves, you know, and our back-end technology would be able to cross-check, fact-check, and be sure that things that are reported are actually things that have happened, you know, and so that you can be able to isolate the person and remove them from the societal pressure that comes to victims of such abuses, you know. So those are the sort of work that we do in my office.
Well, there are so many other issues to raise with you, Mr. Yao, but just this one thing. Kayla, my colleague, asked you about what your organization is doing in terms of, you know, digital support for women. What's the conversation you are having with state governments and of how many states, if there is any such going on, to balance that? So is there a working relationship to ensure that people feel safe and express themselves as safely and as properly as they should without feeling censored?
We are talking with both state and the federal agencies. Let me start with the federal agency. We've been engaged in discussion with both the Nigerian Communications Commissions and the Nigerian Information Technology Development Agency, NIGDA, within the framework of what they define as digital inclusion. Now, digital inclusion means ensuring that every marginalized group is allowed, is given the chance to engage. Now, for you to do that, you have to be able to understand what are the existential factors that make it difficult, for instance, for women to productively engage with the digital space, you know. And that brings the question of safety, you know. They need to create safe spaces. They need to ensure that our laws provide adequate safeguards and protections for women, for children, and so forth, you know. And I think that at national level, that there has been a growing instrumentalization of documents that protect the rights of the women, rights of children, and we see efforts being done. Now, at the state level, this is just starting, and I think that in theater, we've engaged with Kano state government, we've engaged with Jigawa state government, we've engaged with the Bauchi state government, Yobe state government, and Gombe state also. So a number of states in these regions that we've been talking to. But we've also been engaged with Imo state, Kwara state, you know, especially when we had to do training on for young girls on robotics, on e-commerce.
my apologies. It's quite, cheering to hear that these conversations are already, going on. And there are a number of other issues that I would have loved to raise with you, but for the exigency of time. For instance, the challenge of balancing rights and security, given the issues we've been having around that in recent time. But thank you so much for your time this morning. Mr. YZ Yao is Executive Director of SIAD. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.